everybody, it's Keren here from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you very, very much for joining me today. This is today's project. It's a little gift box which I have sized to fit a small present for my husband. Now, my husband really loves Harry Potter, and he also loves pocket watches, and when this popped up as an ad in my Facebook feed, I had to get it for him. So I'm probably going to give it to him, you know, as a little extra gift at Christmas. Now, as I said, he loves Harry Potter, and he's been sorted into Slytherin. And we're going to the Harry Potter studios again for the second time on Wednesday, and I am really, really excited. So I've made this in Slytherin colours. Now, if you're a Gryffindor, a Hufflepuff or a Ravenclaw, then you can adapt accordingly. But stay with me and I will show you how I made this particular box. This is a piece of Emerald Envy card, and I've cut it to 9 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and I'm going to score it at 1 inch, 4 inches, 5 inches and 8 inches. And I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score at 1 inch, and I'm going to turn it again and score it at 1 inch. So that's going to be the outer of my box. For the inner lining of the box, I have a piece of Emerald Envy which I have cut to 3 15/16 by 3 3/16. So this is the 3 3/16 side, and this is the 3 15/16 side, and I'm going to score here at 1/2 inch all around. And that is going to be the inner liner of my box. I'm making this box for my husband, who is a member of the Slytherin house, and because Slytherin is associated with snakes, I wanted to get a sort of snake skin effect to the box. So I'm going to be using this stamp here from Ghoulish Grunge, which, if I turn it that way, looks very much like a snake skin, or it does to me anyway. So I've got that mounted up already on my block, and I'm going to be using my stamp majig to so that I can get an all-over pattern. So I'm going to start off with my piece of plastic here, and you could use vellum, but this is what comes with the stamp majig. Now I've got the stamp majig itself lined up so that the corner of the master sheet, the pattern sheet, is right into that right angle, and I'm going to put my block, I'm going to make sure that doesn't move, I don't want that to move, and I put my block into that corner and press down. Okay, so that now has given me a pattern sheet, and I'm using Sahara Sand ink. So this part I have decided is going to be the front of my box. So I'm going to begin by putting my pattern where I want it and lining up with the stamp majig there. Just make sure that that is straight as a straight thing, and then I can take that away, load up my stamp and press. Okay, and now for my next piece I can line up my pattern where I want it to go. Would have helped if I didn't put my finger in it, but never mind. Load up my stamp and press, and I have a perfect match. So next bit. And there it is. There's one more thing I want to do to the lid of my box before I put it all together, and that is to give it a nice leathery sort of texture. And to do that, I'm going to use some of this gel medium. Now you could use Gloss Mod Podge or whatever gloss medium you like, and I'm just going to put some onto my craft mat. That's actually probably a bit too much, so I shall pull that back. And oops, let's get the top back on that. Put that out of the way, and I've got a brayer. I'm just going to load up my brayer. Make sure that I've got medium covering all sides of it. Now you can do this. You can do this with PVA, but the texture does tend to kind of go away a bit, and I want this to be nice and textured. And I'm going to take off some of the medium. Don't need very much at all. Okay, is that all covered? I don't want any stripes. Go. So I'm going to put this on. I'm going to start on my grid paper. Couldn't think what it was called for a moment. And I'm just going to roll in one direction, pick up a bit more, and roll again. And that is it. I'm not going to work it any further than that. I'm just going to let that dry and then come back and finish the box. The gel medium has dried because it was a very thin coat. It didn't take very long at all, but 10-15 minutes, and I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but it has given the surface of the card a sort of leather-like texture, and this particular technique works very, very well on dark brown card. It does really make it look quite like leather. So I'm going to burnish my folds before I go any further, because it is easier to burnish the folds before you do your cutting than after. And I have learned this by doing it wrong many times, but this time I have remembered. Okay, and while I'm burnishing, I will also burnish these creases as well, and then that job will be done. But I'll put that aside for one moment. Don't need it for a little bit. And I'm going to do one more thing before I start gluing the card together. I've got a 3/4 of an inch circle punch here, and I'm just kind of lining it by eye, and I'm just going to cut out just a little snip there, so that when I want to open the box, I've got something to grab onto. Okay. Now, because the watch that's going to go inside here is quite weighty, I'm going to put this together using Tombow glue, but you could use fast fuse. Of course you could. So I'm snipping into the edges, and I'm just taking out a little sliver. Just a teeny tiny bit. And what that is doing is making sure that my edges and my flaps are not both trying to occupy the same point in space and time, because that is not possible. And just cutting out those, those tiny little slivers just gives it enough space so that it all fits together nice and smoothly. This is going to be the base of the box. Yeah, you don't have to chop out great wedges. Just little slivers will be fine. Okay, so now my card looks like this. Okay, so this is clearly going to be the top of my box. So now I'm going to start assembling. So I'm going to begin with the bottom of the box, and I have my Tombow glue, and I'm just going to, when it wants to play, I'm just going to put a little spot on both parts of the box, and also on these two pieces here, because this is going to be the base of the box, as I have said. So I'm going to Stick that into there. Now because this is going to be the base, I'm going to slide my edge up right to the fold. Okay, so it's right on the fold there, and I'm just going to hold it with one of my little mini pegs. Now these retired last year. We've now got the mini gold clips, which are really, really pretty. But just because they've retired doesn't mean they're not still useful. And they only need to be there for a very short time. Just long enough for everything to stick together. Again, right up to the edge. Hold it with a peg. Now that looks very peculiar, but it'll be fine just for a moment or two. Okay. So now I'm going to do the top of the box, and same thing again. I'm going to apply my Tombow to the flap. But this time, when I'm bringing my flap over, I'm going up to the edge of the fold and just pulling it back just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit, and that should, I hope, give me enough room. I think I can take the pegs off that bit now. That should give me make the lid of the box just that tiny little bit bigger than the base, so that it will all fit together and stay together nicely. Okay, so let's have a couple of seconds to set up. This has had a couple of minutes to dry, and moment of truth, does it all fit together? And yes, it does. Here's the piece of card I cut for the little stand that goes inside the box, and I've gone ahead and snipped into my corners there and taken a little sliver of card out, and I've got my circle framelets dies here, my layering circles, and I want to cut an aperture that is towards the bottom of this piece of card, and the one I'm using is not the smallest, which is that one. It's not the next to smallest, it's the next one after that. So I'm going to go and line that up carefully, and I'm going to go and cut that out on my big shot, and I will be right back. And I'm back, and there's my aperture cut out, and if I just bring my watch in, that fits, that just sits there quite nicely. I want to do one more thing to this piece of card, and that is to cut a little gap there for the top of the watch to fit in, and so that the chain of the watch can rest underneath. And I've got a 1/2 inch circle punch, which is small enough for me to slide into the aperture that I've cut, and I'm just trying to center it best I can, and there we go. I've got a space for my watch to sit. I've got my fast fuse, and I'm just going to put a little bit on each of these tabs. So just light touch and flick, touch it lightly to the card and flick, touch and flick, touch and flick. And now I just need to shape the inner platform of my box here. And if I've measured this correctly, this should just fit nicely and snugly, nice and snug inside my box. For the decoration on the top of the box, I've cut a piece of the silver foil with the best badge punch, which is this one here, which is in the annual catalogue, and I've got the same stamp, and this time I've got Emerald Envy ink, and I've got clear embossing powder, and I've got my embossing buddy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just give my silver foil a jolly good rub over with the embossing buddy, and now I'm going to stamp with the Emerald Envy ink, and I'm going to try and not touch it. I'm just going to try and eyeball this bit, which is close enough. That's fine. I get that out of the way. This is a very juicy ink pad because now I've inked my thumb. Now, if I leave that ink on onto the silver foil, that won't dry, or won't dry very quickly, and it will it will rub off, which is good because if you make a mistake, then you can come along and just wipe it all off and start again. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you do have to be careful with it and to kind of make it behave itself. So I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss this. Look at that. You can get carefully because it's still warm, but look at the texture on that. Alright, so while my hands are still covered in Emerald Envy ink, I think I may as well take advantage of the fact and do some sponging. So I've got my Emerald Envy ink and my sponge, and I've also cut this letter S for Slytherin, of course, using the large letters dies. Now, these are not the cheapest things in the world, but they are beautiful. And I've got a little helper who's just off camera, who desperately wants to come and be part of the show, and she's already been trying to help. And if you stay tuned at the end of the video, I will give you a little snippet of Misty Cat's idea of helping. Okay, so I'm just going around the edge of that, just very lightly, and the same thing with the letter S. And yeah, these aren't, you know, these are a considered purchase, as they say on Shopping Telly, because, you know, they're I think they were £80 something, and yeah, I'd had a good sales month, so I used some of my earnings to help pay for this. But oh my gosh, they are just so big and beautiful, and they are in the same size and font as the numbers that we did in, well, they're now in the annual catalogue. We introduced them in the spring summer catalogue. Okay, so now I've got a nice letter S for Slytherin. Oops, and here she is, and there she goes. Thanks, Mist. Well, I'm just going to go and wash my hands. Okay, I'm back with clean hands. So now I'm going to finish assembling this, and I'm just going to curl this slightly because when it was heated it made it kind of bend that way, and I would rather, if it's going to bend at all, I would rather have it bending that way. And there's my lovely glittery letter S. So I'm going to use some of the foam strip onto the back of my letter here because I want it to stand nice and proud, and this is a little bit thicker, well, quite a bit thicker actually, than our dimensionals. And I'm going to put a bit there and a bit there and a bit there. Okay. So, yes, I got too much there. So I'm just going to trim that. Trim it down. And yeah, I'm not going to waste that bit. Put it there. How about that side? So how's that looking now? So, yeah, I can't see any of the foam strip. So let's bring my box back. And we'll have a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on the shield shape. Not easy to say at this time of the morning. And believe it or not, for one reason or another, it has taken me 3 days to film this. I know! How is that even possible? But it's because I've had to keep it a secret from my husband, because I don't want him knowing that this is going to be for him, and I may well take off the S before I give the watch to him. I may well take off the letter S and replace it with his initial, or I might just leave it as S for Slytherin. I don't know. And Madam Misty is on the prowl again, so I don't know whether she's going to try and get onto the crafting table as she did earlier on. She's I think she's going to go and she's going to go and look out of the window and make sure there are, you know, she knows everything that's going on in the road, because she's a cat and cats have to do that. Okay, so that is now in place, nice and glittery. I have here a length of the Emerald Envy taffeta ribbon, which is in the Autumn Winter catalogue, and I've measured my box. So I've gone all the way around and left about 1 inch at the end, and I've put tear and tape just on those 2 ends. And I am going to take the backing off one piece of the tear and tape. Here it comes. And I'm going to start at this end of the box, and I'm just going to pull it round all of the way until I get to the other end of the ribbon. That folds over inside of there. And hang on, that's not straight, so I'm going to pick that back up and hope that the tear and tape will forgive me. Yes, it does. Excellent. It's more like it. There we go. Now I have a ribbon running all the way around the edge of my box, and I'm also going to add some of the silver taffeta ribbon. Now, same thing again, I'm going to measure how much I need, chop that bit off. Now, tear and tape is going to be too thick for this, so we'll use my favourite things, glue dots. And probably going to add glue dots as I go along to this, because I want this to stay in place. So I'm sort of centering that. Okay. And I'm going to put a glue dot here. and bring my ribbon over the top of it. Trying to keep it centered. You see that first one? It's gone naughty to me already. So. All around I go. And I'm just going to shake it thin. We'll have another glue dot about here. Just pulled off into a glue line. And I'm taking a bit of time and being a little bit fussy about this because, you know, I want it to look super duper posh. Okay, and we'll just pop the glue dot around about here. Ribbon onto the top of it. Okay. And there is my box done. Here is the finished box, and here is my finished box, and my pocket watch is sitting inside. Now I put some bubble wrap into the base of the box to stop the chain from rattling quite so much. I'm going to tip that up that way, out of the way, and that sits nicely in there. And I have some more bubble wrap here, and I'm going to put that over the top of the watch again to really stop it moving around and to protect it. And one more thing that I'm going to do before I present the box, I'm going to put glue dots on each of those corners so that it closes up nicely, because it does kind of gap a little bit there, and part of that is because of the ribbon. Part of it is because, well, it's just the way that this kind of box is. So I hope that you've enjoyed this project, and I hope that you've enjoyed the guest appearance by Misty the cat. And if you have, please, please stay tuned at the end of the video, because you will see more of her, and I've also got a couple of bloopers that you might enjoy as well. But that is it for today, and if you have enjoyed this project, then please do leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. If you want to visit my blog and my Facebook page, the details are underneath this video, and you can also visit my online Stampin' Up shop if you want to get hold of the supplies that I've used. But for now, thank you very, very much for joining me, and I hope that I'm going to see you again soon. Bye-bye. You're not helping. I know you think you are, but you're not helping. I'm going to emboss that silver foil. Heat emboss it, I mean. So I've got clear embossing powder, and I need to plug in my embossing tool. Oh, okay. Okay, so on these bits left over at the end, I'm going to put, if I can find the end of it, it's a brand new roll. I'm going to put around an inch, just about an inch of tear and tape. And a bit on this end also. Okay, and get them on the same side. Oh. Okay, that's going to go on the blooper reel.